I saw the Martians come out of their spaceship and it fascinated me. I was standing in the heather, looking at the mound where they were hiding. I was scared and curious at the same time. I didn't want to go back to the pit, but I really wanted to see what was inside. So I walked in a big curve, looking for a good place to see them. I saw some strange things like thin black whips and a spinning disc on a rod. There were other people watching too, but they seemed to be feeling the same way I did. I tried to talk to one of them, but it was too hard to talk. He said, "Wow, those are really ugly creatures," and kept saying it many times. I asked if he saw a man in the pit, but he didn't reply. We stood quietly next to each other for a while, feeling a bit better being together. Then I moved to a higher spot to see better, and when I looked back, he was walking towards Woking. The sun had gone down and it was getting darker. People in the distance started to gather and make noise, but some people nearby left. Nothing seemed to be happening near the pit. But as time passed, people started to move towards the pit and gather around it. This gave others the courage to join them. As it got darker, more people started to move towards the pit and form a crescent shape around it. They seemed to be enclosing the pit. The person telling the story also started to move towards the pit. Some cab drivers and other people even went into the pit. The storyteller saw a boy taking a cart of apples away from the pit. Then, from the direction of Horsell, a small group of men came towards the pit. The person at the front of the group was waving a white flag. This group was called the Deputation. They had quickly decided that, since the Martians seemed to be intelligent creatures, they would try to communicate with them using signals to show that humans were intelligent too. The flag moved back and forth as a group of people tried to communicate with someone far away. I couldn't see who they were, but I later found out that Ogilvy, Stent, and Henderson were there. As they moved forward, more people gathered around them. Suddenly, there was a bright flash of light and greenish smoke came out of a hole in the ground in 3 bursts. The smoke was so bright that it made the sky and trees look darker. There was also a faint hissing sound. People standing near the hole with a white flag were surprised by the smoke and their faces turned green. Then, a loud humming noise started and a shape rose up from the hole with a flickering light. Suddenly, there were bright flashes of fire and light coming from a group of men. It was as if they were being hit by an invisible force and turned into fire. I saw them falling down and their friends running away. I didn't realize at first that they were dying. It was very strange to see. The fire spread quickly and set trees and bushes on fire. It was coming towards me and I couldn't move. I heard a horse cry out and then everything was quiet. I saw something fall far away and then the strange noise stopped. The big, black object disappeared into a hole in the ground. All of this happened very quickly, and I was so surprised that I couldn't move or speak. If the danger had come back around, it would have killed me. But it didn't, and everything around me was suddenly dark and strange. The field was very dark, except for the roads that looked gray under the night sky. I looked around and there were no people in sight. The stars were starting to come out, and the sky was turning dark blue. The trees and buildings looked dark against the sky. I couldn't see the Martians or their machines, except for a thin pole that held up a mirror that moved around a lot. Some plants and trees were still burning, and some buildings were on fire too. The only thing that changed was that I was very surprised by what happened, but everything else looked the same. I suddenly realized that I was standing alone and unprotected in a dark open space. Then, I felt a strong feeling of fear, as if something outside of me had caused it. I tried to run through the tall plants, but I felt so scared and overwhelmed that I cried quietly as I ran. I was not only afraid of the Martians, but also of the darkness and the silence around me. I was so scared that I didn't want to look back, and I had a strange feeling that something bad was going to happen to me, even when I thought I was almost safe. I was afraid that I would be quickly and mysteriously killed by something that would jump out at me from the pit next to the cylinder. People are amazed at how the Martians are able to kill humans so quickly and quietly. Some people believe that they can create a very hot heat in a chamber that doesn't let heat escape. They use a special mirror to focus the heat and project it onto whatever they want to destroy. This heat is so powerful that anything it touches bursts into flames or melts. The Martians used this weapon to kill almost 40 people that night, leaving them unrecognizable. The news of the attack spread quickly, and many people went to see what had happened. Some of them were just out for a walk and looking for a way to flirt with each other. You can imagine them chatting and laughing as they walked along the road on their way to the site of the attack. At this point in time, only a few people in Woking knew that the cylinder had opened. One person, named Henderson, had sent a message to a newspaper about it. As more people came out of their homes, they saw small groups of people excitedly talking and looking at a spinning mirror over some sand pits. Soon, these newcomers also became excited about the situation. By 8:30 p.m., when the deputation was destroyed, there were likely over 300 people in the area, in addition to those who had left the road to get closer to the Martians. There were also 3 policemen, one of whom was on a horse, trying their best to keep people away from the cylinder. Some people in the crowd were booing, which means they were making noise and acting foolishly. Stent and Ogilvy had anticipated the possibility of violence and had sent a message for soldiers to come and protect the Martians as soon as they emerged from the cylinder. After sending the message, they returned to lead a group of people towards the Martians. The way they died, which was witnessed by the crowd, was very similar to how I remember it. There were 3 puffs of green smoke, a deep humming sound, and flashes of flame. A lot of people narrowly escaped a dangerous situation, but they were not as lucky as I was. A heat ray, which is a powerful weapon, almost hit them, but a heap of sand stopped it from hurting them badly. If the weapon had been a bit higher, everyone would have died. They saw people falling and heard loud noises, and then they saw the bushes lighting up as if someone was moving towards them. Suddenly, a bright beam of light went over their heads, breaking windows and destroying part of a nearby building. The people in the area were scared and didn't know what to do. The trees and bushes were on fire, and things were falling from the sky, causing people's clothes to catch fire. A policeman on a horse came by, shouting that danger was coming, which caused even more panic. People started running away, pushing and shoving each other. They were so desperate to escape that some got hurt, and a few people, including 2 women and a little boy, didn't make it out alive.